My name is Ava Momoh. I'm a film composer, sound designer. My job as a music composer is to, like I say all the time, trigger human emotion. My job is to make you feel something. When you are watching, you are basically ingesting a piece of visual media. It could be a movie, a TV show, even a game. The object of the music in that situation is to make you feel something. If it's to make you feel scared, if it's to make you feel sad, if it's to make you feel happy, the music drives the story. And that's essentially what my job is. If you watch something I do and my job is to make you cry and you cry, then the music has done its job, which is essentially what it is. Okay, so the director and a composer relationship, I don't know if there's an ideal relationship because everybody works differently. Some directors are more hands-on, like they want to be there in the studio with you. They want to oversee every sound, every note. Some directors are just like, well, just do it, send it to me. I work with directors where they want to do a spotting session with you, where they sit down, they go through every single scene and say, this is what I want here, this is what I want there. And then there are directors that are just like, okay, this is the general idea, Ava, do your thing. And I would say with all those people, I have ideal working relationships. So I would say the most important thing is communication. Because often when the director and the composer, they are not on the same page, it's because they're not communicating properly. Maybe the director wants A, the composer is doing B, or the composer thinks it should be B and the director wants C. It's because they are not aligned on the vision. And I always say that as a composer, I'm just an errand boy. I'm a boy. What do you need? I'll do it for you. That's my job. So if you want your music to drive the audience in a particular way, if you want it to sound a particular way, that's my job. I can suggest what I think it should be based on my experience and, you know, creative decisions, but ultimately it's up to the director. So the relationship between the director and the composer should be one of open communication where they both understand each other, and then everything is built from there. From a business point of view, the executive producer and has the most influence because they decide who to hire, who to fire. Do you understand? The executive producer says, I don't like Ava, he's too handsome, I don't want handsome people on my project. You can't have Ava, do you understand? So when it comes to the business side of things, the executive producer ultimately makes that decision. But when it comes to the creative side, the composer at the end of the day really has the most influence because I'll give you an example. The movie Cake, the intro for it, when I was saying the intro with the graphics of somebody baking a cake, it was like, I think a hip hop beat that was there before. And then I was like, okay, this works, but what I'm going to do is create an orchestral version that has like a lot of, you know, chimes and metals and things that sounds fun and playful. And ultimately, even though the director sent me something with a hip hop beat as a temp to follow, I suggested something else and it was like, okay, I prefer this idea, I'm going to go with this. So creatively, the composer has a lot of power in terms of the direction the music can go. This movie I did called Stranger on My Bed, I think it was probably 2007, 2006 probably. And it was one of the last movies, it was one of the movies I did because before, producers and directors, they really just wanted the main opening intro track. Like, just give me a song. You know, that's where you hear, Emeka, you beat your wife, Emeka, you know, all those tracks, you know, and don't do this, don't steal money, all that stuff. That's all they cared about. And then you would just make a bunch of tracks, put it on a CD, you burn it on a CD. My fellow millennials know what CD burning is. You burn it on a CD, and then you take it to them, they read those songs off the CD, and then the editor places it in the movie. You, as the music composer, you have no say where anything goes. Your only job was just to make that intro track. And one of the things that I did, and I like to think I'm one of the pioneers in this, was I was pushing for an end to that. And there was actually a meeting of the Association of Movie Producers. I think this was 2008. And you know, then Paulo Basile was the president of AMP, and then I had a presentation there. and the pictures will be somewhere around. Then, and I was like, okay, we need to start moving away from these songs. And I started offering people less money to do their soundtracks if I didn't do the song, because that song was, So the focus shifted from that intro song, and then it went into what the score actually sounds like. Because when you're not so invested in this intro track, you're now putting more time and energy into the score. So from there, I shifted from just doing an intro track to actually paying more attention to the score. And even then, they didn't give you the movie. They just told you what the movie was about. You made a bunch of tracks, you gave them, they'll place it. So I started asking people, can I have the movie? Can I actually make the music to the track? This actually meant spending more time, spending more money, so having them pay me more. A lot of them said, we don't want to pay you more, just give us the music. And some said, we don't mind, I'll pay you more, give me good quality. And so that's how music has evolved. It's been such a crazy journey, and now to the point where people budget millions for their movie score. When before, my very first my very first music was, I think, 15K, and that was maybe 2002, 2003. But now people would pay you millions to score their movie. So it only goes to show you how the industry has evolved and how much people appreciate it now. Using silence is a very, very effective tool. And it's something that even till today, a lot of people still don't understand, because I like to use silence very powerfully. But the problem is people sometimes don't understand. For example, if you have a lot of music, back-to-back music, you have a scene with a lot of music. The next scene after that, maybe it's a 10-minute scene. It's music back-to-back. The audience has had 10 minutes of music. And right after that, you want to give them silence. They need to breathe. They need to relax. Do you understand? If you keep giving them more and more music, they'll get burnt out. And then the impact of the music gets lost over time, over the movie. So it's very, very important to know when to use music and when to use silence. Or sometimes you have a scene that is very powerful, the scene just speaks to you, and you just feel, this scene doesn't need music, I'm not going to add it. Generally, what I do is I watch a movie from the beginning to the end, without any temp music, before I work on it, and then I watch it. And when I don't feel drawn into the scene, I know this scene needs music to complete it. But when I watch a scene, I'm just completely lost in it. I know it doesn't need music. The thing is, I would say when you start out, you mostly want to just put music everywhere, probably because you're excited. So not really having an understanding of where music should and shouldn't be, how music should transition from one scene to another if it does need to do that. And I would say the quality of the music sometimes, because if you start out, maybe you don't understand how well the music is supposed to work in terms of, which sounds to use, which instruments to use. And a trap that amateur composers fall into is they tend to try to do one thing and do it well, and then not try to do other things, because it's important to have a wide range of styles. So if you're an amateur, you're like, okay, I want to do orchestral music, but then you can't do synth-based music. If your score requires like a jazzy, noir type sound, you can't do that. So yeah, there are many differences, but it's all things that as you grow in the industry, you get better at, you grow to understand more. So yeah, while there is a difference, it's not that big of a difference, but it's just things that with time, you get to understand more. Composer, you have to listen to the greats. Okay, the obvious one, Hans Zimmer, obviously, because he merged synth sounds with orchestral sounds, and he's been very inventive. And I like that he gets very frustrated doing the same thing, so he always wants to do something different, which is awesome. If you want to be a composer to understand musicality, I would suggest John Williams. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, recent stuff like The Book Thief. John Williams is a living legend. So listen to him, you would understand. Listen to the major movies. Even he did this thing for Kobe. When Kobe Bryant was retiring, he did a short film. I think it was nominated for an Oscar. The film won an Oscar. I attribute it to John Williams' music. There is nothing that man does that isn't amazing. Listen to Jerry Goldsmith, R.I.P., Ennio Morricone, the guy who invented the music for spaghetti westerns. If you ever heard of the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, you need to watch him. He used typewriter sounds to make a score. The man is incredible, was incredible. So many Thomas Newman, I don't even know, just listen to the greats. And yeah, in the importance of having music, there's a scene in a movie I did called A Father's Love, where the husband, he pays the hospital bills, brings his family back home, and then he has to go out again to keep working because he borrowed the money, and then he has to work to pay the money back. Originally, when I got that movie, it was like an Afrobeat track that was there as a temp, as the temp music, and I was like, okay, this works, but the audience is now losing the impact of what this man is doing because he's sacrificing for his family, he's going out, he's working late into the night, he's driving a cab, trying to make ends meet. So ultimately, I made the decision that it would be better to have something slow, something solemn, so people really appreciate the sacrifices he's making. If you put an Afrobeat track, the audience is dancing, it feels like a yuppie moment. Hey, what's up? Things are going on. But when you flip it with something that's solemn, people really feel the extent of the sacrifice he's making. So that is a prime example of how important it is. Music can drive the emotion, of how important it is for music to drive the emotion of a movie through a particular scene. It guides the audience into what to think, what to feel. Okay, so in this scene, the guy goes out at night to hustle for his family, and the process for me was, this man is going out, he's hustling, I need to create something slow, something sad. And originally, what the temp was an Afrobeat track, something that was similar to this. This is similar to what was there originally. And it works. Like, you have a nice Afrobeat track while the guy is driving, you know, you are seeing the streets of Lagos. The vibe works. But in terms of the context of the movie, which is what drives what you're doing, I had to change it. Instead, I put something slow. Now it doesn't feel like you're having a party and you're having a good time and everybody just, you feel the struggle of a guy just trying to provide for his family. And he's driving, he's picking up people, does that all night. And as he does that, the music continues to build up. So that's an example of how music works to drive human emotion. I mean, if you're in that scene, you can dance and say, sumo, but you can also, you know, feel something different. My name is Ava Momoh. I'm a film composer, sound designer, and I want to thank the Blue Box guys for coming through. Make sure you follow them on all platforms and subscribe to the channel and watch everything they put out. These guys are geniuses, so make sure you follow Blue Box by Boxonia on all your social media platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, watch all their content, they're incredible. Blue Box by Boxonia. Thanks.